Hi friends, welcome to Immigration News by Ting Law. Today we're going to discuss several factors on what to consider when hiring a law firm or a lawyer. Today we're going to discuss three things, but there's so many other factors. But the first thing is the mentality. The second factor is about the organization. The third factor is what is a communication policy. Let's dig in deep into number one, and that's the mentality. For example, in terms of mentality, how does a law firm prepare their cases? Because with respect to immigration court, and it really can apply to any other case, especially when it involves a court hearing, is that will the lawyer have all the documentation prepared? Will they have the forms or motions, briefs ready for the next court hearing, especially if the judge would expect that to be available at the next court hearing? It may seem obvious and commonplace that the attorney should have this ready. However, that's not correct. That you shouldn't assume that because I've observed when I've had a court hearing and I've observed other people in front of me, and the judge asks, "Well, hey, do you have the criminal records ready?" And the attorney says they're just mumbling around and say, "Oh, actually, we tried to get it, but we just don't have it." Look, you have to have it, and especially in immigration court, because we know they're going to ask for it. So why waste another time to go to court when we can get it all done in the first court hearing? So we try our best to provide as much information as possible to the court and to the government attorney before the first court hearing, or provide it at the first court hearing. Now, I understand if you hire your lawyer late within the past 2 weeks, that's not enough time to give your law firm or your attorney time to prepare for the case. However, if you've hired your lawyer for several months and they still don't have anything ready, and maybe they didn't even ask you and you didn't know that you had to provide this information, that's not a good sign. You should probably cut ties as soon as possible. But in a situation where you haven't hired a lawyer yet and you're considering to hire someone, you need to ask this question. I know it may seem strange to ask. It should not seem awkward for the lawyer. They should be confident in their own process and their workflow and how they do things. In fact, I would relish the opportunity to share it because we take pride in our process. We have different checklists that we know is very important, so we don't miss anything for a client, because time is of the essence. And honestly, our contract has additional fees if the client doesn't provide us everything we need, because once a client hires us, we give you the checklist as soon as possible. Okay, we want to give you enough time to provide us evidence, so that give you an idea. This is important because you need to ask the question: is this attorney acting professionally and responsibly? Okay, and in immigration court or other type of court hearings, is that attorney asking for multiple continuances, meaning they don't have their stuff together, they don't have the documents, so they need to ask for another court hearing to show up? Like I said again, our law firm charges more, but we won't charge you that fee if it's our fault in terms of not having the documents ready when you already gave it to us. But if you haven't given us the documents, then of course that's a different situation. But like I said, we've observed other attorneys not prepared, and I would be embarrassed if I were them. And so those questions are important in terms of the mentality, because the chief judge of immigration has stated in the operating manual the judge would have to review these type of questions if the lawyer has acted professionally and responsibly, and also is a lawyer asking for multiple continuances in this specific case, and thirdly, have they asked for multiple continuances across the board for their other cases as well. So that's very important. They could possibly be disciplined by the judge if they notice this trend. Now, the second thing is organization. Again, I know the question to ask is, what type of case management software do they use? I know it sounds strange and silly to have to ask the attorney this, or even if you're asking the paralegal this, but it really goes to show if they're organized or not. This is the year 2020. If someone still only uses the yellow legal pad only, and maybe their online calendar, and that's it to organize in a to-do list, I would be very concerned. Okay, and here's an example why. In our law firm, we use what we call workflow automation. If one team member is done with one task, it's automatically going to flow to a second task or the next task for another team member to complete, or it can be the same team member. But because there's so many cases, this is very necessary, even though we already know the steps in our head, but that's the best way to keep track for our clients. Also, the case management system helps us to keep track of deadlines. So if one step is done, then we know when to start the second step and then the third step. But especially for court hearings, when we know the final trial date, when we know the date for the final trial, we go ahead and put in the calendar multiple internal and external for the client, for you to know your document deadline, for example, because it, the court manual for immigration is 15 days before the court date, okay? And they need to receive that 15 days before the court date. So what does that really mean? For us, the latest deadline before the court date is going to be 30 days, 1 month in advance, because especially with the USPS mail delays, well, we don't send it by USPS, but we send it by FedEx as a precaution anyway. But when it's 30 days before that, we also put another deadline before that, another 30 days, and then one for you, another 30 days before that. So that's about 90 days in advance. Now, I think you would appreciate that a lot because you want to make sure that all your documents are filed to the court before the deadline. And so that gives us a big cushion of 90 days in advance, where it's still recent enough that you've, for example, reviewed your application to court and make sure that's updated. For example, like your address and whatnot. Or if you had a recent newborn, you can add him or her to the application. Please do not assume that every lawyer is organized. We did not go to law school to learn how to be organized, and that was not a prerequisite to go to law school. So people are just accustomed to how they were, probably maybe in college, how they studied. You have to ask these questions. In what way are you organized? Or how are you organized? Or do you have some kind of case management software to keep track of your to-do list or the workflow and even the deadlines? Okay, please ask that question. Now, the third thing is communication. Ask this attorney, the potential attorney that you're going to hire, you're considering to hire, what their communication policy is. So, for example, are you going to expect a call? When are you going to expect an email? We understand, our law firm understands that in immigration, good amount of clients are anxious, and that's why we're here to guide you. Okay, we're here to guide you, we're here to update you. You may not hear from our law firm every week, but we really try our best to update our clients once a month. Okay, sometimes there really is no update, but we want to give you a call or send you an email and say, hey, we're thinking about your case, we checked it out, the government still hasn't sent us anything yet, or no update, no email from the government. But our clients have told us they really appreciate that. Now, in terms of communication, it's really important to know how you can ask questions after you already hired this lawyer. Now, this is important because early on in my career, we just answer questions as soon as we could when a client calls or when a client emails. And that's wonderful, right? Everyone's happy. I'm happy that you have the information. Clients happy that they have the information as soon as possible. But that's not realistic anymore. So we still want you to have access to the attorney. Me, for example. And what we do is we have a set Wednesday every week that you can schedule up to at least 15 minutes if you're a current client that you can ask any question. Now, in our contract, in our communication policy, we do share that you can ask the question by email. Our team usually responds to the questions by email much faster, but we certainly understand there's situations where it's better by the phone or by a video conference that you can ask this question. And we always make that available. We've been doing this for the last 3 years, and it has been wonderful. Our clients really enjoy it because They know there's a set time that our attorneys are available. They don't have to play the back and forth of the phone tagging, for example, trying to locate us. Okay, we're there. We provide a link, a website to where our clients can schedule that immediately, as many times as they want. We really try our best. There's some times where we can't or are not able to get to every client every month, but our mentality is that we want to update every client every month. Now, the update doesn't have to be from the lawyer. It can be from their paralegal. It can be either from their legal assistant or team member. That's okay, as long as you're getting some update, right? I'll give you an example. For us, when we know that a case has been approved, the client just had an approval, USCIS will usually put the USPS tracking number for your resident card, or it could be for your work permit. So we check almost every day to make sure we get that tracking number, because some of our clients have very shoddy mailboxes. And so if we know that in advance, we'll get that sent to us. We can mark that on a form in advance. But sometimes, like recently, we've had a client where USPS said that it was delivered, that the card was delivered, but it actually wasn't. And so we inquired with the government, and they said, no, it was delivered. And then we called USPS. The client went to the US Post Office, and it come to find out it was stuck in some processing center with USPS. So that made us feel a little bit more comfortable, but we're still waiting on the card. Okay. So for us, that's why we check almost every day for that tracking number. So that gives us an idea if there's some kind of problem, because if there's some problem, we want to be proactive and get that done for our clients. So I gave you 3 main tips. There's a lot more, like I said, but I just want to give you something so you can think of these questions when you're considering to hire an attorney. Now, please do not hire a notario or a notary, because they do not have a legal license to practice law, especially these times during President Trump's administration. The policies, regulations, and laws are practically changing almost every week. And so I personally don't think a notary is following every single one. Please share this video to your friends as they're considering how to hire a lawyer, even if it's a different type of case, not immigration, but it could be for family law or for civil litigation, for example, or even criminal defense. Every lawyer needs to be organized. They need to have a communication policy, and they need to have a mentality of preparing for your case very diligently and timely. Friends, if you got value and you really enjoyed these tips on how to hire a lawyer, please hit subscribe down below, smash the like button, and leave a comment. Let us know what you're thinking about when you hire a lawyer. If you've been frustrated before with a lawyer, let us know, please, because we really encourage other lawyers as well on these tips and how they can be better organized. And you can see that in one of our other channels that we have about software. That's how important it is to us. We want to share that value to other attorneys. And until the next episode, we'll see you soon.